of wanted to give my 2 cents on. There are people in the world who will throw their ego, their position in life, their education, etc., 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 on top of people and use it to belittle them in order to hide, in order for a lot of things, but mostly what I see is in order to hide the fact that they want to refrain from using a real argument, they go for a little straw man like this. What I see happening is people are going to be just so rude to the point that, you know, it hurts the individual, the individual that they're trying to have a conversation with, the individual that they're trying to make something of themselves and only getting a little bit more buried down beneath because of the actions of these people. So, for example, there have been a couple of videos lately of a lot of people that I follow on YouTube who are belittling each other. There was an instance of Coach Red Pill, I guess. I'll just put names out there. Coach Red Pill was, you know, a couple months back, around August of 2017, out of nowhere, he decides to just start making fun of VEEH, and you know, calling him names like a short, 5 foot tall gypsy, things of that nature, and that he can't keep a coherent conversation, he doesn't know how to talk, etc., things like that. And V comes out of nowhere and just says, okay, well, what did I do to deserve all of this? And granted, it's the internet, you know, insults are going to happen here and there. You know, the lower person of the low here is obviously Coach Red Pill. And it kept going back and forth. Now, granted, I know when I go online, I am a bit of a troll bully as well, but when I get owned, and I'll call myself out on it, and I have done it many times. Do I delete my tweets? No. If I make a mistake, it stays up. The only time I've ever deleted videos, or I'm sorry, deleted tweets or any sort of a post on anything is when you know, YouTube has this feature where you can actually tweet. Sometimes my message, it gets an input in there, and I click save changes, and then when I go to Twitter to see the video link, it just gives the video title. It doesn't give the content that I put in there, you know, the little tweet that I wanted to give. And so at that point, I'll go ahead and delete the video and put the tweet that I wanted. That is the only time you'll ever see me delete anything. Other than that, I've been called out. I don't try to bend the argument to try to persuade people, oh my God, you know, I am right, but because of this and this and this, when I'm actually wrong. I don't have that big of an ego, and I think that's what ultimately is a big turnoff for me, is when people have that ego. So I'm seeing it in these arguments. Okay, so anyways, going back to the Coach Red Pill and then V, you know, V eventually came out with this video, and then everybody like Andy Worski and a couple of other people are like, you know, demeaning him, saying that he's who's the guy? Tonka Saw? That guy doesn't know how to control his temper. He just thinks his voice is going to always dominate the conversation, but there's usually never any substance with that. So, for the most part, usually, I'm saying usually, not all the time.
They fucking have done it to us, V. People have lied about us and made up all kinds of shit. You know what we didn't do? We didn't dox them. People have sent me the fucking information of these motherfuckers. I didn't dox them. You know what? Because I'm not. No, V, shut the fuck up, V. V, shut up. Shut up, V. Shut up, V. Shut the fuck up, V.
But you're wrong, Tonka. You're fucking wrong,
not
and you know it.
You are bitch made, and that's how you do business.
Example,
but they keep ganging up on him and giving their own definition of the word doxing, you know, and then it's repeated over and over again. Okay, well, you know, how did I dox him? You know, V is asking, how did I dox him? And they're like, well, you know, you published his address on one of your videos. Well, that address came from Coach Red Pill's Patreon, which he publicly posted. That's not doxing.
When I was talking about Kilroy, I didn't talk about Based Mama's address or any of that bullshit. I talked about the event itself. That's fine.
Did I talk about Coach Red Pill's address in my video, Andy?
I didn't watch I'm talking about Sargon's video, not your video, dude.
Did Sargon focus on Coach Red Pill's address in his video?
In the first 2 minutes, he showed a screenshot of it, yes.
Yeah, that's the address he has on Patreon.
So how much does Sargon pay you to go around to be his fucking PR? I'm just kind of curious.
You're obsessed with Sargon. You brought him up like 10 times up till now.
It's the same thing as if somebody wants to buy a website, a web domain. If they don't want nobody to know that it belongs to them, if they want to remain anonymous, they can buy the hosting protection, the privacy package, for an additional $10 or $15 a year, and keep that name, keep who owns that host, that website domain private. People have that option there as well. So if you want to go to the who is directory and look up who owns a domain and give that personal information out, you can. It's publicly accessed information. Just because certain people in the world do not understand how to go to who is and get this information, or go to somebody's Patreon and look at the address, just because there's some people who don't understand how to get that information does not make it doxing. In the internet world, that is public information. You can hide it if it's private, and then you go a little bit deeper after somebody doesn't want their information to be known, that they're the website owners, whatever. That's a different story. I consider that doxing as well. So I'm I guess in this argument, I am Team V. People keep bending their definitions of things, and then the argument got nowhere. I mean, the only one that was actually making progress in this whole thing, in my opinion, who was making the most sense, was V. And then you have all the fans following below, and in the chats that are like, taking the side of, who's popular and whatnot. It makes absolutely no sense. So people are going to side not for trying to think openly and critically. I love it when people question me, and I love it when people try to prove me wrong on things, because half the time they're right, half the time they're not. I will have another learning opportunity to exceed what I thought was right and admit, hey, you know what, you showed me, I appreciate that, and go on from there. But when you let your ego get in the way just because you want to win an argument, no, you're the one that's a doofus. I mean, you're the one that doesn't want to make progress. You're the one that's already using your ego, using your subscriber count, using how much you make earnings-wise as clout, when you guys can be proven wrong too. And I'm not saying you guys as the people I'm describing in an example here. I'm saying you guys in general, anybody who acts this way. So it's universal. I'm seeing people in stores belittle people. In a restaurant that I was just at, belittling the server. It made absolutely no sense. And it's like, you don't belittle people by telling them, oh, you're just a waiter. Can you please not get my order wrong like you just did? And then started calling this person, bad names. It's disgusting to me. Same thing with this. You don't let your ego get in the way. When your ego gets in the way, you remain vulnerable to looking like an idiot.
Ego music, it's all about me. Ego music, it's all about me. Me, yes, 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 yes. You, no. Ego music, it's all about me.
So anyways, ego is basically a killer. I mean, it's good for you for a little while, but when you rely on ego so much that you have to consistently belittle people, you cut people down in a restaurant, you cut people down when you're trying to have a civil discussion online. I saw this argument before with, just recently with No Bullshit, what's his name? Brooks. His name is Brooks. Brooks was basically going against a guy named Thomas Ellington regarding, claims, Thomas Ellington's observations of No Bullshit and a little bit of the hypocrisy and the way that he's not original, etc., things like that.
No, what I'm telling you is that you're not producing anything original. That's what I'm telling you. And you're couching it in fake victimization.
So what's so valuable about originality? I mean, you think there's a lot of original things on YouTube? Is originality really that sacred to you?
Which again, I'm indifferent to the originality thing. I do agree with Brooks that everything is a rehash of a rehash of a rehash. I've always believed that, and people will gravitate towards who they like the delivery of in general.
Anyways, I used to follow you.
Your videos aren't original. You come at me. I wouldn't normally attack people for originality. I understand it. I've been a creator for a long time, and I understand how art and videos and filmmaking works, but it's the amateurs that come in with this originality bullshit, because nothing's original. Everything's a copy. Everything is a copy of a copy.
Some people like my deliveries, a lot don't, so I'm okay with that. You know, I'll have a limited audience or not. The part that irks me though is when Brooks started saying, okay, or not Brooks, but the moderator, whoever the guy was, I don't remember who, but it was Brooks and a couple of other guys, one or two guys, and one of those two guys had said, well, what is your audience count? And Thomas Ellington replied, or daily view count or something like 5 or 20 or something like that.
Jesus Christ. Tonka, I'm sorry. I tire of this bitchery. Default player 1, how many fucking views do you get on average per video? I'm talking to you, Thomas.
5.
5? 5 as in single digits 5? First of all, you have no fucking place talking to anybody on this goddamn show. You are so low on the totem pole, they buried you in the sand that they put the fucking totem pole on.
Ego music, it's all about sense of entitlement, sense of entitlement. Ego music, it's all about sense of entitlement, sense of entitlement.
And then they started laughing at him, and well, they obviously know that that's not true, and then they were making fun of him, his position, and that's flawed. Now later on, Ellington did come back and correct himself and said a couple of thousand.
So before you want to start talking shit to anybody, even if it's an asshole like No BS, you need to get yourself something that resembles a fan base or a supporter. You need at least one person waving your signs in the fucking crowd, and right now you don't even have that. So whether or not the goddamn bull associates intrinsic value to views alone isn't important. There is some level of value to having those views, and you have none. You don't have a place at this table. Go sit with the fucking children until you have something to say. Leave this fucking ring, dude. Go.
No, it wasn't actually 5.
Go, dude. Go. You've said everything you're gonna say. Get the fuck out of here.
Yes, 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 you, no, 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 no. Ego music, it's all about me.
But the problem here is that they're looking at him. They don't know how long this guy has been around. They don't know what he knows. It's not about how long you've been around. It's not about all these menial things. Your subscriber count, who follows you, who's going to be sucking your dick, like the way everybody else sucks everybody's dick, without question and without observational bias.
That's racist!
You got to. They totally missed the point that Ellington is a smart guy. Ellington is pretty thorough in a lot of his research. Ellington does sometimes extend things out a little bit, but look at me, I do it as well.
It's all about me.
We all do it, and when we're new, I think when we're new, and even people who are, have a pretty big subscriber count, have been doing it forever. They make long videos, and sometimes they do a lot of I know I do it. Anyways, the whole point of this is they were critiquing him, they were judging him and making fun of him because of his audience count. His audience count isn't a big deal. His audience count's like less than 1,000, but that shouldn't matter. He's growing. How can you make fun of somebody because their audience numbers are low? How can you? You can't. Not unless you want to have some credibility. That's a non-credible argument, an audience count. So a smart so when No Bullshitter Brooks whatever had 10 subscribers, he ended up getting, he's about 225 now, 225K. All these people who have grown, you start somewhere. You don't cut people down in the process. That's your biggest mistake, is that you're belittling people for all the reasons that should not matter. It makes you look like a fool. It makes you look petty. That's it, petty. It makes you guys look petty because you're not wanting to converse with them about the real issues. And there were some, the debate could have gone a lot better. The issues could have gone a lot better, but Ellington and his wife had just had a kid, so it's understandable that his mind was probably elsewhere as well. Granted, it is what it is at this point. So now it comes. I'm going to give a real life example here. I manage a team of professionals.
Yeah. yes, 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 yes.
And I do this for a living. I've been with this current business. I've been with them over 5 years now. And one thing I never, ever, ever do is belittle people. If they don't know something in their field, I'm not about to belittle them. I'll be like, okay, well, how can I teach this person in a way that's going to help enrich his or her life without making them feel bad about what they didn't know in the first place? I don't know everything either. One of my biggest rules in the office is I might be your boss, but it doesn't mean you can't tell me, Roger, you fucked up here. Roger, you did this wrong. Roger, what the hell is wrong with you? Why'd you do this? You caused this whole issue. Absolutely nothing wrong. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody's a fucking genius. I kid you not. Nobody. And that's modern day man's flaw. That's every man's flaw. Is everybody always thinks that there's smart people in the world and only certain people should be held to a very, very, very high, on a high pedestal? No, the moment you start holding people on a high pedestal, that's totally fallible. Everybody has issues. Everybody has, everybody is a victim of not knowing a lot of things. The way that I handle my people at work is okay, so you mess this up, that's totally fine. Let's see what we can do to correct it. We'll work together. Now, if it's done 3 or 4 times, then yeah, we have to sit down and have a talk. But I'll never belittle people, and I'll also never put up with, and I have called it out, I will never put up with somebody else rolling their eyes or saying something negative of like, oh my gosh, Nancy over here in this department who's not IT doesn't know how to do so-and-so and so-and-so. I mean, like, it's so freaking easy, like, yeah. I'll pull them aside, and I'll tell you a conversation I had with one person. What did you go to school for? Oh, I went to school for this, and this, and this. What did she go to school for? Not that. Then fuck off. Leave her alone. She obviously... You can't do what she does, and she can't do what you do. The only thing you guys can do is have mutual respect for each other where you don't belittle her. And vice versa, if it was to be done the other way around as well. I think she was fine with it, but I wasn't. You don't belittle people like that.
Holy shit.
I think I have a video where I farted on a snare drum and it got more views.
Oh.
And that's what's going on. That's people. It's a bit of a turnoff. I do believe in fun, playful, sometimes serious conflict online, never belittling. I will never make fun of somebody's physical features. I have my own issues that I deal with since I was a kid. I will never make fun of somebody's social stature, subscriber count, views. Well, maybe views if I will debate people on their views. And I will make fun of people sometimes if they rightfully deserve it. If they're actually doing the same to me. Tit for tat is how I look at it. Whoops, my battery. Tit for tat is how I work it. So that's my whole gripe here is there's a lot of people who are thinking that they can just belittle people because they have the crowd in the comments, like on the YouTube comments, they're all siding with their fave YouTube guy.
I am on another echelon. I mean, you got nothing on me, dude.
By comparison, absolutely. As a
all you got is
I'm nothing. Now let me
yell.
ask you a couple of questions. Oh, all I have is a yell. That's outstanding. Let me ask you a couple of questions then. Number one, how long have you been on YouTube?
Since it started. Since 2006.
Okay, so you're talking about 12 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been on 6 months. We're on the same show, and I'm beating the shit out of you. So don't worry too much about who's got more fucking numbers.
There's a real purity to my work, a childish innocence. But I'm also smart and sophisticated. I mean, I grew up on the street.
I even criticize a lot of my favorite YouTubers. My biggest YouTubers, if they say something I think is off, I will call them out on it, and I'll do my best to provide documentation or my point of view on something if it's a point of view and not a stat. And just it's not to call people out on things. It's not to belittle people. It's mostly just to try to get the conversation going, to make people think about things that they possibly didn't think of before. So again, overall, don't belittle people. It makes you look like a smug. It makes you look pathetic, in my opinion. It's like finding the most sexiest person at the beach. You see them running down the beach, they're doing that Pamela Anderson jog with the hair going all over the place. And then they come up next to you, stand next to you, and they're like, oh, what's that guy doing helping us? You know, a waiter or whatever. And they obviously are making fun of the person in some general or specific way. That person can go from 10 to 0 in no time for me. You know, personality is a huge issue for me.
So please tell me, by all means, how is your multi-channel network on YouTube doing? Are you supporting your life off this yet? Also, let me know how your cartoon series is. Also, let me know the last time when you were live animating yourself on an almost daily basis. Please. I only have the yelling, so tell me about all these great things that you're doing. I mean, you said yourself you're a response video channel. You're not actually creating anything. You're responding to what actual goddamn creators, guys like me, by the way, actually fucking do. I make things that people respond to. You just respond to everything. You're a Lycan. You're a bottom feeder. You're hanging on to what actual creators do in order to create some kind of oddly mishmashed together facsimile of a fucking career about it, all the while knowing on the inside that you don't actually have anything to fucking say.
It's all about I am my own demographic. What does that say about me?
Well, you know what? I'll give you that. You create stuff. You create a lot of stuff. The problem is no one's watching.
I do think that there are a lot of people that actually know that that they're intentionally having bad attitudes, and they want to see if they can rub it off on you as well. They think you're going to follow them. And look what's happening on YouTube. The majority of people do follow a lot of these people. The majority of people do follow these people that they hold high in a pedestal. Don't ever hold people high in a pedestal.
Love me or hate me, you know, I strike a chord in people. You can say that.
It's all about vacuous slogans, innocuous sentiment. Ego music. It's all about fake humility, sense of entitlement.
Give me the same amount of criticism you give everybody else, and give it to yourself as well. Do unto others as you want to do, as you want done unto you. And then by that token, you're also going to be learning a lot of stuff along the way, and open your minds up. Don't ever try to let the ego take over an argument. You're never going to win. That's just a straw man. And I wonder why people don't get that. Anyways, this is not a complete argument. I think it's just a lot of BS. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
I think what fascinates people about me, and I'm really grateful to my fans, is that I'm totally fearless, and people really get that. In the sea of negativity, I'm a statue of liberty. That's why people love me. It's humbling.